Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I am Ameera from the Lapeef Network. I am reclaiming my time. I am here with a special guest, Mr. Thon Lexy.
How you
Hi,
doing?
Thon.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. How you doing, Amir?
Good, good. Thank you for being here. I know it's such short notice, but thank you. So, I know you from your reaction videos.
Hmm.
Is there anything that you want to say about yourself before we begin? What's your name? What's your sign? What's your location? Where you from?
My name is Thon Lexy, as you all know. I'm a Leo. I'm from Indiana. I started this podcast around January, and we've been doing well, picking up. People know us mainly from doing Kevin Samuels reactions and some other things, and just in general, opening up conversation about modern women, dating, lifestyle, so on and so forth. Glad to be here.
I really enjoy your videos, let me
Thank
tell
you.
you. You
Thank
have
you.
a good perspective,
Thank
and I
you.
want to dive a little bit deeper into it. So, I wanted to get right to it if you don't mind.
Okay.
I want to ask you, because of your unique perspective on all of this, well, it might not be so unique, but you're brave enough to come out, show your face, speak about it. What made you get into this? Like, what did you see that you felt that you needed to make this channel and you needed to present this information to the people?
Great question. I saw an important conversation being had, uh, in particular with the in the black community. Not to just make this just about the black community, but just I had never. It had been a long time since I've seen so many black men and black women having the conversation. Even though we weren't in agreement, obviously, it still was interesting to see the conversation being had on such a large scale. Shouts out to Mr. Samuels. Because of him and his average at best video, it busted this conversation wide open. And I just, jumped into the niche, and it picked up, and the people chose the channel, and here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
You have a saying that I've noticed that you say all the time, spin the clip.
Yeah,
Where did
yeah,
that come from?
yeah. Actually, that's something that I've been saying since I started YouTubing. I have a channel over called Michael Jackson Defense. That was the first channel that I did. And I used to say that over there, and I brought it over to this podcast, and they loved it way more on this podcast than the last one. So I kept it. People have been begging for shirts and merch. So I just was like, okay, I guess I have to keep saying it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's almost like, you know how people always say, like, run the tape or
yeah,
tape this, and there's no tapes being used anymore. That's a very
yeah,
ancient thing. There's no disc of
yeah,
sorts. So,
yeah.
yeah, it's like kind of old fashioned that you
I
say it like
know.
that.
I know it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, right. I want to ask you this.
Mhm.
Because of your videos, I've noticed that you have a very, let's see, very, I want to say it's like a sniper view of
Mhm.
this world of modern women versus
Mhm.
traditional women. What do you think about the modern woman today? What do you think are her strengths, her weaknesses? And do you think that this is going to be a good way to continue into the future if there are tweaks made? Or do you think that there's no way that this is going to be a good path for the future? What do you think?
Okay. Let me start with the strengths. I do think that modern women are very educated. They don't get degrees in important fields, but they are educated nonetheless. And that can be useful if it's it basically going towards a household or contributing to a household. But if it's only for the woman's independent efforts and her independent dream or whatever, then it's useless when we're having the conversation about marriage, legacy, family, so on and so forth, which we know you know a lot about. And that's what's been great about what you've brought to the space.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So
Yeah.
basically, you're saying just because, so all of these strengths are useless for the family if you're not willing to work in it as a team, as a group.
Yeah, it is. It really is. If you watch, I hate to reference the show so much, but if you watch shows like, Baby Fresh and Fit, Mr. Samuels, you hear a lot of women putting an emphasis on their career first when you ask them what they bring to the table, what they bring to a relationship, what value do they offer to a man, and they lead with their career, even though they never intend on handing this money over to the man so that he can utilize it in some way. They never intend on bringing him in on like whatever. It's just their own independent plan. And
Mhm.
what modern women don't understand is you don't get a traditional man with your own independence and wanting him to secure that. I
Mm.
think that's one of the biggest issues that we're seeing.
So let me ask you. I know this is going to be a little bit personal. Do
That's
you have
fine.
a girlfriend?
Yes.
Would you date or marry a more modern woman?
Um, I think I would. I've said this on the channel before. I've said that I would date a modern woman before, especially if she was just open to being taught, open to being led. I think we've seen it before. We've seen some people who, have like who are modern women but are very open to these ideas. If they can actually act it out in their practical life is another thing, but I have hope. I don't think that modern women are hopeless, but I do think we're in a bad state.
I want to shout out to the super
Hmm.
chat from Mr. Service
Hmm.
USA LLC. He says, June just tuned in and catching up. Get the likes up, people. Thank you. Thank you so much for the support. And okay, so if you haven't noticed, I'm sure you've heard of my stance on many things, and I have a very strong conservative stance on a lot of things, which can be kind of a turnoff for many people.
Hmm.
But one of the main things that people are getting turned off about is the fact that I say when it comes down to child custody, when the pair divorces, that the children should stay with the father, and that women should not get child support if they are the ones who declared that they wanted to be the divorce, like they filed for divorce. What do you think about that? And do you think that I'm wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong. That's how it was done before in the past. If a woman left her marriage, she didn't get to leave with the children. The children stayed with the father.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of cases, you see men on the hook for outrageous sums of child support, and a lot of times not even seeing their child. And the question is, if you need this, if this amount of support is necessary, how about the child just be with the father? This is a glaring, obvious fact that we've always seen. We just don't say it, and that's what I've been liking about these conversations because they are important conversations to be had. So
True. Do you ever end up speaking to other women about this, like whether it be maybe more liberal style modern women? Do you ever have conversations, maybe in the streets, in your daily life, on your channel?
actually, the first, of course, I'm not gonna go too much into detail, but my first experience with modern women before I was coining the phrase was with women in my own life. Even though that they love me and of course, they're very important to me. This is such a common thing that when these conversations started to be had, it was relative to me because I had seen it in my personal life. I had seen aunts, cousins have these type of viewpoints and see them not get results, see them make it to 30 and 40 to not have a significant other and to have to deal with the questions that you get when you're single and middle aged. And a woman, it's different than when you're a man and single age getting that. People don't ask you about being single when you're 45 and a man, you don't. But when you're
Mm.
45 and a woman and you're alone, doesn't matter if you have a career, doesn't matter if you have $1 million, the question is going to be asked. And if it doesn't matter to you, that's fine. But most women, it matters. To most
That
women,
is
it
so
matters.
true, especially like with immigrant families. Oh my God. I have seen this in my own personal life. We have like cousins who come home, maybe back to the
Yeah,
Middle East, and they say, oh, yes, I graduated from Harvard and,
right,
I was alumni of some sort or, whatever
right,
have you. I have the best career, work on Wall Street. And the family will look at you and say, but where your husband? Where your
right,
husband? That's
right.
it. That's all they care about. I mean, everything that you just said, they're just like, it's like flies flying by them.
Yep, yep.
What is your I want to ask you, like, are you like, what is your background? Are you Christian, Muslim? Are you from different country? Are you immigrant?
Here
Nobody
we
knows
go.
anything about you, so
Here we go. Here we go. I've been waiting to save this for a reason, for moments like this. I'm actually more of like agnostic, atheist. I don't really subscribe to religion at all. I respect people who do, if they respect my stance. But I still take more traditional views. It probably will fall more closely to probably Muslim because I value a lot of traditional views. I definitely value marriage and just everything surrounding it. I just a little bit about my life. I had a child outside of a marriage, and it's something that I hold myself accountable for on my channel because now that I know better, now that I've learned,
Mm,
I would have liked to. I love my son; he's the best thing that ever happened to me. But I would have loved to have had him inside of a marriage,
mm-hmm.
and I feel that that
Understand.
should be the collective mindset in our community. We should be family oriented. We should be thinking about a feeling. We shouldn't be thinking about a romantic quest. We should be thinking about picking a good solid mate so that we can build family trees and build our community back up.
True. And you have a son, which is even more important
Yeah,
that you talk about
yeah,
these issues and you recognize
certainly.
them.
Yeah,
Right. This is perfect for you. Like you can teach
yeah,
your son the right way. And so he won't,
absolutely.
right. He won't be easily eaten up by the women out here because if you notice, women, I always say this, and you can probably agree with me here. Women are vicious. And
Hmm.
the way women are, especially now that they have the government backing them up, is this is the root of all the issues that we have now. This is why I believe is another thing that they get attacked for is that men's rights are more important right now than any other, especially more than women's rights, because women have all the rights right now. So why are we still advocating so hard for these women's rights when women are not only equal in the society but put above men?
Absolutely.
When I speak about men's rights, what comes to your mind, and what do you think men are starting to lose in this country when it comes down to rights? Or I'll let you go, and then I don't want to lead you on too much.
No, no, I'm ready. I'm like, let me at him. I'm gonna just jump right into it. The child support system comes to mind.
Mm,
How unfair it's been to men. I feel that men have been silenced in a lot of these situations and a lot of these scenarios. These women are believed, like when they walk into court and ask for what they're asked for, there's no correct assessment of them before they're granted all these rights. And
mm,
the man is treated like some outsider from the beginning before he's even done anything wrong in most cases, simply because
yes,
there isn't a romantic situation happening. And
yes.
we don't see this as a disparagement because it's been so common for so long, but it actually is a problem. And
Mm,
a lot of good men are put in situations where they're on the hook with women who are using the system to make a point on them.
hmm. And this situation could all be avoided how?
Men certainly need to make better decisions. I'll start with the men because I know that people are going to think that I'm going to be biased. I'm going to start with the men. Men need to make better choices. Pookie and Ray Ray can't be the majority. We have seriously like Pookie and Ray Ray cannot be the majority. And when you see a lot of men out here with five baby mamas, then they're getting too much action, and the men of substance, the men of value, aren't getting enough shine and aren't being and that all ties into women not being the women in our community not being able to pick, and just general and in other communities. We're having the issues with women not knowing how to value themselves and make good decisions in the dating market.
Well, when you say that, when you were talking about the communities, I wanted to ask you, I mean, this just brought something up. Now, this is a little bit off topic, but
Mhm.
just since you're here, while
Mhm.
you're here, what do you think about? I don't know if your girlfriend is black or white or
Mhm.
other. I wanted to ask you, what do you think about interracial marriages? I don't want to talk about relationships
Yeah.
because I don't believe relationships are, I just
Inter
don't.
oh no, I definitely want to touch on it. The person that I'm saying right now is black, but interracial dating, there was a time where I took a very hard stance in saying that black people should just exclusively stick to their culture for the sake of us building our culture. It isn't about hating other cultures, but just about us building and growing. When you see Indian cultures stay to themselves and so on and so forth, nobody makes a stir, but when we do it, it's always a stir. But
Mm,
now that I'm being very realistic and just really seeing the dating market for what it is, a lot of black men in particular do not have a lot of choices to choose from. And in reference to, like, we had talked about my son, I'm really worried that there won't be wives for him if we do not start to like have
ooh,
these conversations. There would just be workers. There would be a bunch of
yes.
working women
Hmm.
who go on trips and sing really, bad songs that represent bad things, and that
Vulgarity.
will be the culture. Yeah, exactly. And that will be the culture of women just showing themselves and whatever, and there won't be any wives for our sons. So
That's a huge point. And, you know, a lot of people ask, even me, like, why do you care about these relationships in the West? I
Yeah.
care because I live here. And
Right.
eventually our kids are going to have to pick from a spouse here.
Hmm.
So if there's nothing here, then, you know, it should be all of ours duty to make sure that at least our area, our surroundings are doing well and that they're
Right.
healthy environments. So,
Exactly.
since you said
Right.
this, I guess I wanted to ask you about. Now, I know this is going to be kind of difficult because I want to phrase this right because I don't want to seem like overly vulgar, but
Hmm.
there is a term called simp, okay?
Hmm.
And also we have betas and alphas. Now, I want to
Yeah.
start with a list. What do
Okay.
you think about simp? Do you think it's a buzzword? Do you think it has no meaning? What do you think when you hear that word? And who do you envision when you hear it?
um, who I envision. I think that a lot of people have put a lot of negative connotation around the word simp, but I think it's positive for a lot of reasons because we need to single out men who are trying to propagate a narrative about something that like propagate a narrative about men that isn't true and it's misleading women and it won't get other men results. It won't fulfill the women who date these men. It's I think that simping is good. We can talk about Russell Wilson. Let's just talk about him for a second. Uh,
Okay. I'm gonna disagree with you here, but go ahead. Go ahead. You say you're
it's
fired.
okay. Okay, like Russell Wilson. And I'm not saying that, Russell Wilson isn't there isn't any value to him, that he doesn't have any value. Of course he has the talent, he's had a great career, but he does things that men universally collectively have we've already decided this is locker room talk that that doesn't speak to who we are, and we know that he's doing that to put his woman on a pedestal. But the truth of the matter is in that scenario, Russell Wilson is the prize. And when you see men like Will Smith even do this and try to put a woman who is less valuable than himself
Ooh,
as the pedestal,
yeah.
what do we usually see? And I'm not saying that that situation is going to fail with Russell Wilson and Sierra. It seems to be prospering, but what I'm saying is he does a lot of things that doesn't speak to the true feeling place of the manosphere, and that's why he's been used as an example of simphood.
But Sierra, I wouldn't say that she is the exact example of the type of women that the manosphere is telling men to stay away from. Because yes, she has a
I
child,
agree.
but I don't see her as being this. I don't know. I just maybe I'm wrong. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see her being this dirty woman who just was out with everyone and has a bunch of children. She has one child. Was she married to Future?
She was trying to, and I don't see her as that either. She actually earned that ring technically. I mean, I think she didn't touch him for a year. She
Yeah.
like I had no issue with how Sierra conducted herself in trying to move into that situation. It was a great when you're dealing with somebody like Future, you might want to try a guy like that who's a little bit on a straight and narrow. I
Mm.
understood the decision, but it was actually his behavior that was the problem. It was his. It seemed like he was overcompensating to validate her and give her validation that she needed to give herself. I think a
But
lot of men are out here trying.
had he done that to a woman who
Mhm.
did not have a child, we would not be saying the same thing. So I think we're just saying this because we know that she had a child. Do you know what I mean? I don't see. Okay,
I can
Sierra,
see that. I can see that.
there has been okay, even I watched Kevin Samuel speak about this situation as well, and his opinion of the situation has gone back and forth, honestly, because one video I saw that he said he was calling him a simp. The other video he was saying, well, he made Sierra earn her spot. So I just don't see it this way with him, and I don't know. I could be wrong, but and then when you try to say like Will Smith, that is a situation in itself. And just really quickly,
Mhm.
what do you think is going to happen between them? Do you think that they're going to end up
Mhm.
divorcing?
No, I don't. because I really think that I don't think that they like the attention, but I do think that all of this attention that they do get from their relationship is profitable for them. And they've always been unorthodox, and I think they always will.
Mm.
And when you hear Will Smith talk about his comments in reaction to all of our opinions, I think that he's comfortable doing what he does. But to me, knowing the true nature of men, you know that he's suffering. And even watching his documentaries, just some things that he said, I don't see a happy fulfilled guy there. I would not recommend men to follow behind Will Smith, regardless of if he divorces or not. I would not recommend that men behave themselves and conduct themselves the way Will Smith has been conducting himself. I think that it's a bad example, and it doesn't represent strength, regardless of how he tries to get off into these philosophies and get all, you know, how they get all spiritual and
Yeah,
stuff, so that you get
yeah,
confused and you don't see what they're doing. But no,
yeah,
it's
literally.
bad, and he needs to do something about it, or tell Jada to
Mm.
just stop talking, pull the plug
Yeah.
on the red table talk, and it's bad for their brand.
Well, the only time that she actually gets any camera time is when she's talking down on her husband. If she's not
Right,
doing that, no one is paying attention to her.
right.
So when you see that, see, I always thought that Will Smith was, as we call, alpha. Now that word has been overly used as well, alpha. Um,
Hmm.
I have a theory about this alpha beta word because I know people are gonna come for me in the comments. I'm sorry. This is just my opinion. Alpha doesn't apply to humans. It's I believe it started with monkeys when you're talking about monkeys and
Hmm.
wolves and such. This is it doesn't really apply fully to humans because with
Hmm.
humans we have the ability to be leaders in certain situations and followers in others. We're not just a leader at all times as humans. Now, people can disagree with me there and say, well, there's men who are just dominant all the time. What do you think when you hear this term being used overly? Alpha, I'm an alpha. And no one ever wants to be a beta, but betas exist and they have to because they're not everyone is an alpha. What do you think?
I think that I do think we get tripped up on the terminology. I agree. I've always known that the alpha thing was more of an animalistic metaphor just brought into the conversation. I never necessarily took it literal. But I think when people say alpha or beta, now that we've had this conversation in a broader way, I think it comes down to the paradigm of each man. I think that there's an alpha mentality. You've been hearing these channels called alpha male strategy, so on, alpha mentality. I really think that it's more of a mind frame, the way that you think. Even a lot of guys, you're hearing a lot of guys who they don't seem like they're punks, like they wouldn't be able to defend themselves,
Hmm.
but they say a lot of things that to me don't represent strength, like men who try to make women the enemy or so on and so forth, when they're not getting the results that they want in the dating market, and it doesn't
Hmm.
represent strength. But people who get very literal and think that, oh, you're born a beta. I think you can develop an alpha mentality personally. I think, and in your own way, every man is unique. That's gonna look different for every person.
But
But
doesn't that come? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead, go ahead.
But doesn't that come with how you're raised? Because,
Yes.
and here's the other term. See, if you look at the comment, he says, I'm a Sigma. Now, here's the other term. Like, if it's not
I
alpha, it's
like
a
that.
Sigma. Right. So, what's the difference? Because I don't really know the difference. I know that's a synonym to alpha.
Right.
What?
I think that there's always hierarchies, especially with men. Money. Some people use money, uh you know but there are always your beta men. You have your leaders. But just looking at it from a community standpoint, like I'll use my own community, we have women leading our communities, and we're wondering why there aren't leaders. Like there shouldn't be a lot of alpha black men around because they're raised by women who don't know how to teach. Like really, I think we use alpha as a colorful way to explain masculinity in just as a whole.
Yeah.
I think the more we get tripped up on the terminology, we'll miss what men are actually trying to say, because there's a reason why Mr. Samuels has blown up the way he has. Fresh and Fit, so on, all these different shows have blown up the way that they have. It's because they're saying something that's important to men. So yeah.
Well, we have. we have this circle of the YouTube of the internet blowing up like crazy. People like Kevin Samuels have shot to the top because of it. Even do you know a creator called Undead Chronic?
Nope.
Okay. Well, there's another one called Undead Chronic. He's been yeeted from YouTube about 15 times, but he keeps coming back. That's why they call him Undead.
Wow.
Because it's going against the gynocentric agenda in this country. And if you notice, when you have so many people who are raised up without a father, or even I've noticed that even a lot of families that have fathers, the fathers are very much, as you call it, beta. They're very soft, they're very feminine, very much. Do you know what I mean? So when you hear the term beta, beta and simp are not the same, correct? So what do you define as a beta, and how does that apply in the real life?
That is a great question. I think that when you look at the beta male simp thing, I think that beta men or like beta males, I think they, it does have a lot to do with what you earn, so on and so forth, how you present yourself as a man, your status. There are certain men that just aren't going to obtain a certain amount of status. It's never going to be in the cards for them to attain a certain amount of status or success or leverage in society. I think when we live in a capitalistic society like what we live in, a lot of it has to do with financial leverage. The guys who have the big wallets tend to be able to make more leverage in relationships and friendships, all type of different situations. Money speaks. I think when we use the word alpha, a lot of these coaches are teaching for men to get on their purpose and get to the best possible position that they can get into so that they can, have leverage in the world and also in the dating world. Like I think it's just great terminology, but I think if taken too literal, we'll miss what men are trying to say.
Hmm. I've seen that we have a lot of people. I want to ask you this. Do you think, I also want people to get the link. So if they want to call in and have a chat with Mr. Thon Lexy, please feel free. We can try to get the link in the chat. I also want to ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
We see that there are a lot of people. Okay, here's the question. Do you think that when a woman gets married, that her husband can make her a traditional woman? Like, how can I say this? Is a woman traditional because she got married? Is the act of getting married making you traditional?
Absolutely not. And I think that's why the divorce rate is so high. I think that without those traditional values, you're seeing a lot of people leaving relationships for irreconcilable differences, which they're just leaving because they don't feel good anymore. They don't feel like it's working out. It doesn't feel the same or whatever. They have these romantic expectations versus duty to the children that they're having within the marriage. You're seeing people who are leaving marriages with children because they're not happy. That's something that we just can't see. So I don't know. That's
So
just
the
one of those.
happiness factor.
Yeah, it's the happiness factor. Traditional women understand that it isn't about them just all the time, that there are bigger things than their emotions. So that's what I think is important about women who are traditional. They're usually a bit more selfless than modern women.
Hmm. What do you rank in your life? In your life, I'm just curious because we see your channel and I see how passionate you are about this subject.
Mhm,
I see that you have a more no nonsense take on this
mhm.
whole like women and this liberal idea. So, in your life, how important is it that you get married? Because I understand you're in a relationship, but is it something that is like it's gonna happen no matter what, or it's more like if it happens, I'll be happy, but if it doesn't, I'm
Oh
okay.
no, no, no! I'll be married. Like marriage to me, like especially having a kid and wanting to have more children. I definitely want to have them within a marriage,
Hmm.
and that's why I use my child, even though it's touchy. I want men to know that I've made mistakes, and I'm not going to continue to make those same kind of mistakes. So let's go ahead and hold me accountable in real time because you know, as the family grows, it needs to be within a marriage, and that's what
Hmm.
I'm working towards.
You're not scared of being taken to the cleaners because that's a reason why a lot of men in the West are saying that they refuse to get married because of the system. You see that
Absolutely.
if you choose the wrong woman, even though you thought she's the right woman, she can take you to the cleaners after you're no longer so-called making her happy. I
Right.
mean, are you not afraid of that?
Yeah, a lot of people are choosing to get married in different ways. Men have to be cautious. I wouldn't say afraid, but I caution. You have to caution. But a lot of people are getting married in their own ways. A lot of people are giving the woman that they're with power of attorney, certain rights, and they're going and doing things their own way, drawing up their own contracts, and doing it in front of witnesses. A lot of people have gotten too caught up in thinking that you have to get the government in your business to create a successful union and ensure that
Mhm.
if in the case that you perish, that the people will still be secured and people will still be taken care of.
Mm.
Um, for the most part, I definitely think that it's very important, and I think that it should be pushed, and it's something that I certainly want in my life, and will always, work towards and look for. If the relationship that I was in now were to not to work, I would continue to look for someone who would be a suitable wife, not just somebody who would just come lay up with me when I feel like I need somebody to lay up with me or whatever.
What's a wife to you?
A wife to me is a helpmate, somebody who is cooperative, somebody who understands silence but doesn't think that she has to be silent to exist around me, someone who understands how to pick her punches and pick her battles. Guys live a very turmoil existence. Even average men, even the men we would
Mm.
call beta, live a very competitive and turmoil existence and out in society, and then they come home and they compete with their women.
Mm.
So I think in general, me like most men, I would like a peaceful environment and a helpmate, a woman who is a good support system, someone who can nurture children and not just keep them alive, but actually nurture them and be a teacher to them the way women have traditionally been over the years.
But how will
And
you know if a woman is going to be nurturing? See, this is the problem that a lot of people are facing, and these are the
mm,
questions that a lot of
mm,
people are wanting to know the answers to.
okay,
And this is why I'm
let's do it.
asking you as a man.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
You know, a lot of men are saying, like, well, how am I going to know? What are the signs that tell me that this woman is going to be nurturing, that she's not going to take me to the cleaners? What are the signs that a man should be looking for?
I think that men need to vet better, me included, because I've made mistakes myself as a man.
Mm,
I think that men need to be looking to see if that woman comes from a two-parent household. I think that that's something that a lot of men don't do. They don't care if the woman comes from a background of marriage, if she knows what that
mm,
looked like, if she's seen a successful relationship before.
mm,
Like me in my 20s, I dated a ton of women who hadn't ever seen a successful relationship in their life because I didn't necessarily have the guidance or the mentorship to make these proper decisions.
uh-huh.
And I think we're seeing that a lot more in the dating market, but surprisingly in older people, making these weird decisions in the dating market.
So let me ask you this: what would be deal breakers when you see? Because a lot of people, so there's many signs. In my opinion, there's many signs, but like I said, I'm very much conservative. I'm a little bit too strict for most people's
Mm,
tastes. I'm a
mm,
little bit too strict. But
mm,
what do you think about? I'll give you an example. Here's a nice young lady. She is 26, 27. She's in shape. She's just a little bit overweight, just a little pudge on her stomach. She has a social media account. She has Instagram. She has Facebook. She has whatever else, Twitter, TikTok, whatever have you. She has all of them. And she comes from a two-parent household, but her parents divorced. Let's say something like this, a situation like
mhm.
this. How would you judge a woman like that? Because yes, she has seen what marriage can be, so she does kind of know. But there's also signs that, I'll let you answer. What would you do?
Well, I don't think that that solves it. I don't think a good example just solves the problem entirely. But I just think that that's, one aspect of it. But, if in that type of scenario, men really need to just look for if the woman is trying to add value. It's really a mind frame. Femininity in itself is a mind frame more than it's like, because fitness is important, but I think that the mind frame behind femininity is actually the most important. If you just understand your position with a man, understand
Hmm.
why you're there. I think a lot of women don't even understand why they're in a marriage. They think that they're there so that for the person to make them happy. I think that's what a lot
Hmm.
of people think marriage is. They think
Hmm.
that they're there for the other person to make them happy. And that is like so far on the list of priorities in marriage. But so many modern
Beyond.
people have moved it to the front.
Kevin
And
Samuels always says
yeah,
that. He says, "Well, if your partner's not making you happy, go get a hobby. Go find a way to make yourself
yeah,
happy, but don't divorce."
exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Why is that their responsibility? And there are other people depending on if this things work. And that's something as a man that I'm coming to a realization too late. That's why I feel it's important to talk to other men and get them coming to that
Precisely. And I
realization quicker.
also, we're going to add someone in the chat, but I also want
Mhm.
to get you to answer this. Oh, before we do that, let me answer the super chat. Service USA says some men, like myself, are no longer interested in marrying in a country where we have all the responsibility but none of the authority within our household without the government stepping in. So now we go overseas. Okay, so let's let some guests in. Let's say hello to. Let me take this off. Hello, cheeky bar banter, cheeky banter.
What's up, man?
Welcome in.
I think he's
You're on
muted.
with Thon Lexy.
What's going on, man? I think you're muted. What's
You're
going on,
muted.
man?
We go there.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we
What's
go.
up, man? How you doing?
I, I, I'm well. I'm well. How about you guys?
Good,
Good.
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 What you got for us?
Yeah, I think I the conversation you guys were just having was more so about men knowing the right person to choose. So, a little
Right.
background on myself. I think men's it's important for men, which most of the time we don't talk about, but it's important for men to be chaste as well as far as their sexual discipline. I think when you decide to be very intentional when it comes to that, it removes a lot of the issues that come with one masculinity and your need to have a woman constantly fulfill that role because you're sexually you've given your body some form of sexual appetite. And I wouldn't know this because I'm a virgin, but I remained a virgin intentionally because of my understanding of what sex represents outside of just the physical pleasure. Um,
How old are you? I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm
oh
listening.
yeah, my bad. I'm 25, so I'll be 26
Okay.
in the summer
Okay,
of
keep going.
next
I'm
summer.
sorry.
But yeah, I think that's important. I think that if men learned and understood the value of sex and understood what it means, and it's something bigger than just a sexual gratification for your end and her end, and they were taught that, I think things would be a lot different. It'd be easier to make decisions when it comes to women because a lot of the times men are clouded in their decision making abilities because they're so willing to get rid of that sexual appetite that they got at a younger age. One,
Right.
and then two, um, men men also need a vet. I know that in this community we really do have a big emphasis on women vetting men
Hmm.
because that is true and historically that's always been the case. You always need to you need to meet the father. You need to have a dowry, but there is a level of vetting that men have to do as well. There has to be a level of experience, a level of trust that's been gained beforehand, and I think that only comes with time. So, my suggestion is you are friends first. You figure out how.
No, 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 no.
No,
No, no,
you
no. I
disagree with that?
disagree. I
Okay.
disagree highly with this. And I understand your point. I understand it sounds good on paper, but this is not. I'm sorry. You don't need to be friends with your wife. I mean, and this is just my view. You don't need to be
Okay.
friends with your wife. Would it be nice if you guys develop a friendship as you guys are married? Sure, of course. But to make that a requirement to a good marriage, no.
I don't.
I completely
I'm not.
disagree.
I'm not going to
I
make that a.
agree.
I
I
don't.
agree
And
with that.
also,
Yeah.
you were speaking about time. You were talking about like it takes time before you can be a friendship, and then you get married. You don't. I don't recommend wasting time like that. Especially you said you're virgin.
Yeah.
There, you don't want to waste time like this. You want to get your woman and get to it. You don't want to just sit around and try to
Well,
be friends before you get married.
well, it's. I'm not going to say try to be friends, but I do think that if you know someone, for example, I know Anton has talked about this before, how he met Rita at an early age and they became friends and developed that relationship beforehand. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that is quote unquote necessary because I understand your situation, and according to statistics, arranged or marriages that are however you want to put it, they do better. So I don't think it's a necessary thing. But in today's society, where you meet somebody in college, if you may not, let's say you may not date them in college, but if you
I'll bring
know
you
them,
right back, Ray. 1 minute, Ray. 1 minute.
yeah, if you know them and you've built a relationship and you've seen how they operated and they've seen how you operated, you have some form of, you have something there. That doesn't necessarily mean your intention was, I'm just going to be her friend so I can date her later on. But it, the more you know about a person, I think helps, because at least you know the tendencies a little bit.
There's nothing you're going to know about a person until you marry them, because everyone is on their best behavior when they're girlfriends or boyfriends or even just friends. You're not going to know the person until you marry them.
Yeah.
1 minute, let me connect my charger.
Yeah, have you ever heard somebody say that you don't know somebody until you live with them? Like I know that's kind of cliche, but it definitely rings true. You don't need all this time. I respect, being able to, maintain your sexual energy. I understand a lot of guys are into this culture of like, retention and so on and so forth. There are some great benefits in that, but I think that, my brother, I think it's very healthy that, you get out there and you know what I'm saying, get out there and get into the dating market. You're 26,
Yeah. So do you
and
think, oh, go ahead. I'm going to cut you off. Go ahead.
oh, no, I was just saying, you seem like a, well-spoken guy. You could, at the end of the day, I think you should, I'm not telling you what to do, but
Okay.
yeah.
So my question is, what do you think the effects of, what do you think? So are you saying, is there a range? Because there's two different ideas that typically come from this community: is go slay them all, or, you know, I don't know what the other one is, because it's typically lay down as much as you can.
I
So
mean, the thing is, your biology, what you're doing right now goes against your biology completely. But, if you choose to do it, there will be some benefits to it. But, as you date, there aren't going to be a lot of modern women who are going to be like, okay, it's been a month of me getting to know this guy. He don't want to touch me. Like it's a different climate. So I'm not saying that you won't find somebody who will be able to get down with that with you. I'm just saying it's a different climate. It's going to be very difficult. I would get into some environments, some groups who are like-minded, probably religious organizations. I'm not sure if you're religious or not.
That's what I was going to say.
I would probably maybe get involved with some religious organizations with some people who have like-minded ideas like you, because man, this market is sharks. These women, they want to bust you down,
I know,
bro, within like a couple of months.
I completely understand. I agree with
But
you
really,
on that.
really quickly, Cheeky, because I got to bring on Ray.
Go ahead.
No, before we go, I just wanted to give you some advice. I'm saying
Yeah.
try to go through your religious. If you're religious, I don't know if you're religious or not, but if you are, that's the best way to find yourself a good wife. Go through her family, vet her through her family, through her
Well,
past,
yeah,
all of this.
I'm good. I've got who I need, so like I'm fine on that. It's just a different perspective. That's all.
Thank
Okay.
you so much, Chiki.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you for coming.
Nice talking to you, man.
Okay. Oops. Hi, Ray.
What's up, man?
Hey, how y'all doing?
How you doing, man?
Thon?
Good.
What's going on?
I'm a follow yours too, so I
Great.
follow you, man.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you
I'm
for
glad
that.
you came on. Ameera Exile, man, she's one of the best at it, and I'm glad you all linked up together.
Awesome, man. Great. Glad to have you on. What's up?
What do you have on the topic?
Well, one of the things that that you had brought out was about the alpha male thing, and you're right about that. That concept actually did start with the hierarchy of like chimpanzees and silverback gorillas,
wolves. Yeah.
And they tried to introduce it into the political system. And with that, when they try to introduce it into the political system, like what's that called? The field of primatology. They don't even want to accept that terminology because it doesn't. They never applied alpha male to humans. It was always looked at for.
Ray, just really quickly. I'm sorry to cut you off. Can you put up the volume on your end, because it's a little bit hard to hear you. There's a little bit like background noise.
A little bit of
it
feedback.
is.
Yeah, it's like some feedback, and it's kind of difficult to hear you.
Let me
That's
go
better.
out and come back in and put my headphones on.
Okay, we'll be here. We can let on Wes then. Hi, Wes.
Hey.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
So as always,
how you doing?
As always,
you've opened up a can of worms.
How you
Nice to
doing?
meet you there, Thon Lexy.
Nice
I'll
to meet you,
subscribe to your
sir.
channel. I've never heard of you before.
Great. Nice to
But
meet you,
if you're
man.
with Ameera, you're awesome, obviously. So.
Awesome. Good to go.
He's
Oh.
awesome. He really is.
Okay, so I'll start off with the last subject, the alpha male concept, and I'm really glad that you touched on it. Now, where that first became a pop culture issue was I think during the 80s or early 90s. A scientist wrote a book about chimpanzees and identifying their hierarchies. Somehow that became required reading somewhere in Congress for freshmen, people that were just elected for the first time, because they wanted to establish, well, this is what alpha males do, like simple things like the way they stand. But I mean, we're not monkeys. Never in my life have I flinged my poop at anyone. Okay. So it really annoys me that people are trying to constantly identify us with hierarchies of species that have not discovered, indoor plumbing.
That's what I say. I say that all the time because this is such a buzz term, Wesley. What do you think, Thon?
I think that you guys have all made, valid points. Like I said, I think we shouldn't get too, tripped up on this terminology and just have the conversation, especially me being new to this space. We use these terminology for marketing purposes and so on and so forth, but really I think it's a way of, speaking about the conversation that's being had. I think it's just colorful language. I don't think it can be taken extremely literal, but I think you guys all are making valid points and I'm learning new stuff. So.
And everyone is a self-proclaimed alpha. Do you notice that? You don't have a group of people saying, oh, this guy is an alpha. You have people self-proclaiming themselves, and you even have I'm sorry, guys, but there are profile names out here in the tubes with saying that they're alpha, saying, oh, I'm the alpha man or 100% alpha. And it's like, based on what and who? Where are you getting this from? And do you even know what it actually means and where that term comes from?
Yeah, sorry, you won't see it said on my channel a lot or said around my platform a lot. I don't necessarily use it. I've never really had a perspective on this whole, like on alpha, definitely simp and beta, but not the alpha. But I definitely think it's terminology to have a bigger conversation to me. I've always known that beta, that this is animal terminology. I just, was thinking it was metaphoric.
We can do better than this as humans. We can do a lot better than this terminology as humans.
Well, we have the nuclear family. There are no other creatures in nature that operate by the nuclear family, so it just does not apply. For us humans, it comes down to, are you performing the roles that you have determined you want to perform? Are you paying the bills? Are you taking care of your family? Are your children progressing? Simple things like that. I don't care about I'm trying to watch my language. Okay. I don't care about the yahoos at work that want to be, loud and obnoxious and try to be in everybody else's business. Is their family happy? Well, chances are he hasn't found a family yet.
Right. Thank you, Wesley. Thank you so much. You always provide great wisdom.
Thanks, Wes. That was great, man. Nice talking to you.
Bye-bye. Okay. Or you can hang out. I can bring you back in a second. I just got to get Cuban in here too.
Okay.
All right. I'm like, we can do a lot better than this. I don't understand why we just have to focus on this alpha. When has being a man not been enough?
Yeah, right. What's up, Cuban?
Hey, what's going on, brother? Hi, Ameera. How are you?
Hello.
I do have a comment, and I want to disagree with you guys a little bit.
Okay.
I think everybody knows what an alpha is. You don't have to be rich to be alpha. You don't have to be poor. For example, you have Pookies and Ray Rays that are alpha because women concentrate on them, right?
Okay.
There was a small percentage of people in these low-income situations that are impregnating all the women. Why? Magic? No. Then there's the other type of alpha, like Future. He's kind of the same, but he has money. Same thing. He does what he wants. And that's what an alpha basically is. His point of origin, the way that his thoughts emanate.
Wait, you're saying an alpha is a person who impregnates women? I'm sorry. I don't know if I heard you right.
No, that is exactly not what I said. I said an alpha is a man that women are usually attracted to.
No.
So, yes.
No, that's not true.
Yes.
That's not true.
Yes.
Because an alpha doesn't care if a woman is attracted or not. He will still be who he is.
No. You can be a
using
simp.
this monkey term, the monkey term.
You can, but we're not talking about monkeys. We're talking about people, right?
But this terminology comes from animals. This is not a human thing.
We are primates, right? We're also animals.
Okay.
We share some commonalities with all life on Earth because we all came from the same place. So, all right. Evolution. In any case, yes. Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's true. You can tell the guy that gets bullied in school, for the most part, he's born with less testosterone. He's weaker. He has a smaller chin. It's easier to be an alpha when you're born with more more desirable physical traits. You can become an alpha or have alpha behaviors, right? However, you're not an animal, Larry. Okay. What are you? Are you made of silicone? I don't understand. You're not organic? Okay. In any case, basically, it's a placeholder. It's not like a perfect term, right? It's not like studied. But then again, you must realize as well that science doesn't want to study the differences between, let's say, different populations and IQ. They don't want to study the uncomfortable aspects of nature, right?
Okay.
They don't want to study, like, what was it? 60% of men throughout all of history never reproduce. Now they have internet. So now we're hearing about these alphas and betas because most people are not at the top of the pyramid.
Okay.
Right?
What do you have to say about that, Ray?
And they're expressing themselves. That's all it is, But you can have a quarterback that's a simp, right? A quarterback popular in high school, he meets all the high value stuff, let's say, in that context. But then he gets a woman and then he totally loses it and gets divorced, raped, or whatever. Same thing with a rich man like Bezos or Musk or whoever, a billionaire, loses a bunch of money and whatnot, or doesn't know how to handle women. He doesn't need to. You can be a beta or you can be a simp, but if you have enough value in other areas, but your shoulders are not broad enough, maybe you have a little gut, but you're a freaking billionaire, you don't really need to be alpha to get women. So it's contextual, and it's based very much on mindset and behavior.
I have to agree
obviously
with the
genetic
super
traits.
chat. I hear what you're saying, Cuban, but I have to agree with the super chat. Like, we are good as we are as humans. There's nothing wrong with saying I'm a man, and that, well, I'm not a man, of course, but there's nothing wrong with a man saying that he's a man, and we should understand what that means without having to add alpha in front of it. If a man says that he's a man, that should be good because we're human. We don't need to use these monkey terms to describe ourselves. Thank you so much, Cuban, for joining us. I gotta let someone else on.
You hear me?
Yes, I hear you, Ray.
Okay. What I think what people are doing, I think that people are confusing what a so-called alpha male is with a desirable man. There's a big difference. What is widely accepted for how they describe an alpha male is a man that every woman wants. He's intimidating. He's unquestionably in charge. He takes care of every situation. He's loud. He's brash. Doesn't care. Doesn't even think. He does what he wants. Says what he wants. Wear what he wants.
So he's a man. He's a man.
Exactly. But that doesn't sound like a desirable man to me. If I was a woman, that wouldn't sound like a desirable man. That was something I would want to stay away from. But that's, like I said, I think they're confusing desirable man with a so-called alpha man. Like I said, it was introduced in the 1970s. The 1960s. It was described from primatology research. Primatology research, and they the social structure that they were describing was more associated with chimpanzees and alpha gorillas, silverbacks. So they still scientists will not accept that notion that a human can be an alpha male because it's widely associated with animals, and
that's
it started with monkeys. That's exactly what you said. So this term is being used, and everybody's trying to accept it like it's a social norm, but it's not.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Do you have anything else on the topic that you want to say to Mr. Thon?
Yeah, what's his name? I forget the guy. He was just on prior before me. He was talking
Cuban?
about the dating. Yeah, no, not Cuban. The young man.
Wesley, maybe. Wesley?
Yeah, I think Banter. Is that his name?
Oh, Cheeky Banter. Okay, Cheeky Banter. Yeah.
He was talking about the dating, and that's another thing that was introduced in the 1920s. It was usually courting, and I think we should kind of get back to that, or the kind of like how I ain't gonna say religion, but your people do it. How they have like a what they call it? What do they why they call it Mir?
Wali?
You bring two people together.
Oh, Nika.
Okay, I think we should do it like that, because I think when you have a mother and a father, or father and a mother in a picture, and they can vet the person that you may want to date or be the person to represent the next family going forward. I think they are better suited for that, and not somebody that's in their 20s who is being prepared for life. And you can have, like I said, somebody that's an adult, two couples that's married, and then they can vet the person that you should be with that can better suit your daughter or your son going forward.
Precisely. Thank you so much, Ray. Is there anything, Thon, you want to say to Ray before?
That's it. I don't want to hold any more people up. It's good to see you, Thon. I'm gonna keep supporting you, Ameera. I'm gonna keep supporting
you. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. Thanks, bro.
Thank you so much. Thon, I want to ask you this. So what he was talking about is a system that we Muslims have for getting married is called Anika. Do you know what Anika is?
No, not exactly. What's that?
So nikah loosely translates into intercourse or sex. So basically nikah is with two people want to get married. The thing that they do before they get, it is kind of a way of getting married in the same way. You go to the mosque, the temple, the masjid, however we call it, and you go to the imam there and you ask to get the nikah. The nikah just means that you have permission to have intercourse with your partner. That means that basically you're married. So you have the parents and you have the girl has to have her guardian, whether it be her father or designated wali. We call it a wali. A wali is like a guardian, and the parents of the other partner as well. And yeah, they just sign off. And also there is, we don't call it dowry, but we call it mahar. And you get the mahar, which is a gift that you give to the bride. And after that, you are married and you're allowed to have intercourse. So that's what he was saying. Instead of getting the traditional marriage in the government way, you do that.
Okay, I understand.
What do you think about that? Do you think that you would be open to doing something more like that?
Yeah, because I know that I don't even have to read into it. I know that it has to have a higher success rate than what we're doing now, simply because it's a measured process. You know, of course, we know how much better arranged marriage does than what we've commonly seen in, you know, when people just get together for romantic reasons. Arranged, you know, it's based on more than just a feeling. I've heard you say this on other shows, how like when it's arranged situations, it's you know, other people are involved. You can't just you can't make selfish choices in that way.
Correct.
When other people, you know, are involved. That's why I think, you know, your work on like arranged marriage and just, you know, using that as an example for people to see structure before they make a decision. I think that a lot of people are making decisions off emotion, and that's why they're leaving because of emotional reasons as well. So.
And they also know that there's nothing there to stop them. There's no family there that they have to answer to. No one, they have to answer to no one. After they do this, it's just fine. I want to read off the super chat. He says, the term alpha male absolutely did not start with primates. It started with wolves, and it was coined by a man by the name of David Meck in the 70s.
That was what I was thinking. That was what I said originally when we had first started. I was thinking, I first heard that when people describing wolves and how they...
Yeah, same here. But there was a book written about primates that coined the same exact term. So I was saying that they're used for both of them. But thank you so much for the super chat. Hi, Canadian.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I got in late, but when I heard about the whole thing, I kind of like, it's amazing that there was a discussion that was brought back in the early 2000 among college students, not the college students. And I'm trying to understand where it comes from. I'm a Nigerian by birth. Both my parents from Nigeria, but I was born in Canada.
Canadian, you have a little bit of background noise. Is there any?
Hold on. That's my kids and my family making noise. Sorry about that. What I'm trying to say is this: living in 7 years in Nigeria and comparing my experience living in Nigeria and living in the US, I realized that there are different ideologies being pushed out, especially in the westernization of this country. In Nigeria, we never say anything about alpha, foods, or beta, whatsoever. My culture as a Nigerian is similar to your culture, Amir, in your own country, based on your faith.
I know.
There's a lot of arranged marriage that take place in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I turned 18, 19, my mom was trying to arrange me to get married to somebody based on family, based on who she know, and I would turn it down. Because it wasn't for me. Because I've seen what it done to my parents, whereby even though the arranged, not all arranged marriage are successful, majority is, it is true. I cannot say it's not so. Majority is, in some cases, depend on the nature of the marriage. If it is political, it is based on wealth, it is based on debt. Now, these things happen in Nigeria, whereby if you own a particular person's money or property whatsoever, the only way you can write off the debt if one of their sons marry your daughter. That happened in Nigeria. It also happened in political cases. It also happened in case of a man passed by and saw your daughter, and just like that, he wanted to marry it. Not dating. There was no dating. You move it out of there. Don't mind my son.
It's okay.
They do it because they feel like they don't have to go to the dating. There was no such thing as much dating going on in my country.
Dating is a new thing. It's a very modern thing. And even Kevin Samuels talks about that, how this dating wasn't a thing before. It's either you were married or you weren't.
And you're right, because I'm a Christian, but what I learned in my country, concerning our faith, dating never existed in the Bible. There is friendship, there is courtship, and there is marriage. The dating, there's a book called How I Kid Dating Goodbye. I forgot the name of Joshua Harris. That's the name of the author. He was a pastor before he denounced God. I don't know why he did that. That's his own personal journey. I read that book a couple of years back, and I read deeply, and I really, according to the scripture, it said a lot about dating. Dating is nothing but a system being put in play to make money.
To buy more diamonds, more rings, more dresses, more dinners. Yep, dinner parties, engagement party. Yep.
I got caught up in the dating game when I came back to the country back in 1998. Because at that time I was like, 20, 21? I was looking to get married in my early age, not get married in my 30s. Because in my country, the dating thing is not taken serious. Because how would I say? You have these old school parents who were so adamant about their son going to college, which in that time talking to some girl, when I send you the car to get an education to build a career for yourself. If you want to talk with a girl, it better be for marriage purpose, not for dating. Then you get this girl pregnant, get that girl pregnant, get that girl pregnant, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
that was a thing that I experienced living there. Now, it's somehow a lot of these third world countries are somewhat copying America's way of thinking and trying to implement it, which I find it crazy.
True.
For example, we didn't have Labor Day parade in my country. Never had. But for someone after I left, they now start doing it. Which I don't know why. That's just a little droplet. But as in the terminology of alpha, in the Bible, alpha is considered to be first, like Polar Bear 65 in the chat room. Alpha is known in the Bible as considered to referring to Jesus Christ, because he's the first and he's the last. And not
did you hear about that, Thon?
Hear
about Jesus Christ being referred to as Alpha?
Oh yeah, like Alpha and Omega. You know, the Christian terminology.
Oh,
there you go. Here's the Christian terminology. Yeah. That's the only time you hear Alpha and Omega. It was referring to individual as male.
And even can I say something really quick?
Go ahead.
And even then, it's used in a metaphoric sense. That's why, like, from the beginning, like, even when used in religious connotation, the word alpha is meant to just say higher. So, like, let's look at the women, for example, let's look at the women who call into Mr. Samuels' show, okay? They all do want to say, they have a alpha guy in their mind universally, and they all don't know each other. And it's guys who usually earn a certain amount. So it's fair to start at earning, you know, what a guy earns, because these words represent something: alpha, beta, position, where you are in relative to your peers. If, like
Why
I said,
couldn't we? Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were done. Go
No,
Oh
ahead.
no,
Don't
it's
Lexi, you
okay.
on point. Don't Lexi, you on point because this is something I've been taught growing up. It never referred to individual who the alpha, who the beta, who the omega. In religion, especially in Christianity, alpha and omega is referring to who is their God, which is Jesus Christ as Christian.
The
Because he's the
most high,
first and he's the last.
most high.
Bingo. But when I start hearing alpha male, at first I start to figure out what do you mean by alpha male? What it's all about. Then as the year passed by and I start to realize it's just a new term just to separate who's who,
Yes,
who's not.
that's what I'm saying.
Now, me growing up in the old school mindset, there was a book I read that my brother gave to me. My brother to military in Peru. It's called Maximizing Manhood. You can find it on Barnes Noble. A very, very need to read book for all young males. And talk about how the concept of dignified men are being wiped away for undignified men. It says during the 30, 40, 50, 60, you to idolize dignified men who walk with integrity, who walk with intelligence. They have a certain move where they carry themselves. They weren't like rap artists or actors. They were people who do things for the people, who were doing things for the community. They were doing things for a righteous cause. Now these days, we idolize rap stars, we idolize celebrities. Even the whole life they've been put on notice that their life is not all consistent. But at the same time, we'll say, oh, he the alpha man because he got X amount of car. He the alpha man because he had X amount of house. He the alpha because X amount of God. No.
Mm,
Just because you could get a lot of girls doesn't make you an alpha male.
precisely.
Just
Exactly.
because you can sleep with a lot of women doesn't make you an alpha male. It makes you a male slut.
And that was my
Yeah.
disagreement with the other caller. That was definitely my
Thank you,
disagreement with the other
David.
caller.
I understand the double standards
Yeah.
society in this country, but I'm more the person who don't follow society norm. I'm literally either too blunt or too hypocritical, or just I'm cutting people from my word, which I really don't care. But let's be truthful with ourselves. The term alpha male, beta male, is another way of saying you want to separate people who don't fit a certain criteria.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much for your input.
Thanks,
And
man.
I
That
agree
was
with you
dope. That was
completely.
dope.
Thank you so
Good
much.
stuff.
Hey,
Good stuff, man.
ask any African bird who lived in that country for X amount of years before they came here. They will tell you that's never been known. It's kind of weird when we hear it as Africans. So we kind of scratch our head. What's this all about?
Because it's just a man. It's just describing a man, honestly. Why can't we just say it's a man? Another thing that I wanted to say about this whole alpha term, I understand what people are trying to say. It's a person who is a leader, a person who is first, a person who is unafraid, a person who stands up when it's time. I understand that, but you can say I'm a leader, I'm something else. But I just want to be honest with you guys. As a woman, hearing this term is almost like women saying I'm a queen. At this point, it's almost the equivalent of the female queen. A woman calling herself a queen is like a man saying I'm alpha. It's like, if you're really alpha, you don't need
fair.
to announce that to anyone. They will know, and other people will call you alpha. Same as if you were an actual queen, you wouldn't have to tell the world you're a queen. We would know because you act like it, you look like it. We call you queen, not you call yourself. We call you alpha, not you call yourself.
Right.
Do you agree?
I don't have any problems with that. Like I said, because I think it still speaks more to us not getting tripped up on the terminology. Like, to me personally, in this space, I don't think the terminology is needed to have the conversation in an efficient way and to still be as direct and candid about the points you want to make without having to use these terms. But I'm not against, but I can't say that I'm against people who do, like, because a lot of the platforms who use I'm not going to speak against people who use those terms, because those are the platforms that have paved the way for me to be able to have a platform like this. So I'm not going to say anything against people who do use it, but personally, I think it should be used metaphorically and it should be looked at as so. And I think when people are being literal too much with that type of stuff, it's kind of seemed like to me, I think it's to derail the conversation a little bit, to me personally.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
We're hearing all these weird semantics and all these different things about tone, and so all these different type of things now that men have, You know, I just see this magnetic thing over the manosphere and over red pill spaces where we have to answer up for every little thing we do. And I think the general problem is that women are being addressed, and that's never happened like this, so raw, so in your face.
Yes.
And women have to deal with with things that they haven't had to deal with in so long, and it's uncomfortable. And to be honest, I think that we could stop. I do think we should stop talking about it so that we can stop using the terminology, so we can stop talking about it so that we can keep having this conversation that I think is very, very important. Very important.
I think the buzzword has served its purpose. I think we can mature past it now. Let's grow past this. We as humans, we can do better. Yeah. Hello, Ameera.
What's up, man?
Hello, Ameera.
What's up, man?
How are you doing?
Thon.
What's up, man?
Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.
I love the platform, and I love the show. I apologize. I got some notification. But anyways, I wanted to bring up with regards to what you were saying earlier, Thon, with vetting the women. And I agree, of course. And but I want to put the accountability on the men first. But I think personally it's fantastic that we're actually putting the accountability on the women today, and that they're getting so much pushback lately. And men have, for these last 50, 70 years, been criticized for just being men, and when we're now actually holding women accountable for what they're actually doing instead of their gender, I think that's fantastic. So before anyone in the comments gets angry or stuff like that, I agree with the platform. I agree with holding the women accountable. But I think that we should firstly look at the men and at the same time look at the women, because there is this, it was a Roman senator, I think, or a Roman historian. He said that the people of Rome was ruled by the men, and the women of Rome ruled their men. And 150 years later, the Roman Empire collapsed.
It fell because as soon as the feminism, feminism infiltrated Rome, that's when that was their fall.
Everything collapsed. So I personally think that the Western civilization is on its downfall, and historians have made a average year for how long civilizations will exist. And the average year for a civilization or an empire to exist is 500 years. Guess which civilization is on their 500 years soon?
Yeah.
Western civilization is soon upon 500 years, right? So, and another thing I wanted to bring up with regards to the vetting, I personally think that this is just an opinion, and a conclusion that I've come to myself. It may be wrong, it may be right. But a man was he super chatted earlier that he said that we're sick and tired of the woman today, so that's why we go overseas, And I think, to be honest, that within the next 2 decades or the first decade, we will see more men actually going overseas, away from the Western countries, and marry women there and actually just remain there.
But only can I say something really quick, and I'm gonna let you continue. Only so many men are going to be able to afford to, travel in that way. So if you can just say everything you're saying, just kind of more for like the average guy too, who isn't going to be able to like travel and all that, and then talk about the vetting, so on and so forth. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So my pushback to that would be that if you're looking from a financial standpoint, most countries, besides the Western countries, have a way more cheaper way of living, with regards to expenses, food, housing, and stuff like that. And for example, like you earn more and you spend more in the West, obviously, and things are much more expensive. So, for example, I live in Norway, and we earn a lot, but we spend a lot as well. It's one of the most expensive countries to live in,
Right.
But if you move to a country which is much cheaper and you save a lot of money and you just go there, you will be able to buy land and do stuff like that.
Well, yeah, and another thing is with Americans moving to different countries, especially third world countries, as a person who has been from America and moved to another country, it's a lot easier for Americans to get work and employment in other countries, because a lot of people, even renting a home to an American in another country, is seen as how can I say this? You're easier to get a home in another country because people trust you more because they know Americans pay their bills, while other people in other countries sometimes they won't. That's what I have seen as a person who has gone overseas to live. They trust us more to pay bills and to be more responsible. I have no idea why, because in America we are not that great. But is there anything else? Huh?
I think it is because of inferior, how do you say it? English is not complex, you know, and I think that's the reason. And you know, education in the West tends to be more advanced, obviously, because of the finance, the GDP, etc. But yeah, like I agree, we should vet the women more, and I think men should put women more. Like vet them even more harsher than they are now.
Yeah,
and I agree.
I agree. Yeah. Thank you so much, Roberta. Thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure.
Your perspective.
Is there anything you wanted to say really quickly before we move on, Thon? Do you want to have a response?
Yeah, I sort of was with him last
halfway.
Yeah, I was in the middle. We can move on.
Okay. Let's see, who do we have? Jay? Oh no, Emmanuel. Sorry, Emmanuel. Yep. Hi, Emmanuel. Oh, did I mute you?
Hey, how you doing?
There you are.
What's up, man? How you doing? No, it's not muted.
Okay. I was working out. Y'all made me stop my workout. I had to get in this conversation.
Good. That's how you know it's a good show.
Hey,
so what do you have on the topic?
I think we missed it. Okay. So we missed it when we talk about alpha. It's based off a pack or a group. Okay, you gotta be evaluating a group for it to be an alpha. So you don't, if it was a wolf by itself, you wouldn't call it an alpha because it would be a lone wolf. It had to be in a pack, as in a leadership position, to be an alpha. Okay, so you can be an alpha. You can be an alpha in one situation, but not another. But let me give you an example. If we look at a state of Georgia, the governor in a room with other officials in Georgia is an alpha. But if he goes to a United States meeting, say he's not an alpha in that pack or in that group. Okay, so the biggest thing is when we had a whole bunch of men start beating their chest saying I'm an alpha, and they're not leading nobody. They're single. How are you an alpha as a single person? For example, I'm in an investment group. I am. If you look at it from my alpha, if you want to use that word, I don't like using it. But if you look at it from my family, I am the alpha. I make all decisions. But when I go meet with men of greater stature and we sit down and talk about investment, I'm a sponge in the room. I'm the most quiet person. I'm sitting back because I know they have more knowledge. I wouldn't be considering myself an alpha in that group. So when you say that you're an alpha, or you look at it from an alpha point of view, the question that you got to ask you is, what group are you basing off of? And if you're not based off of a group or a pack, then what you're saying have no substance or whatever. And so I think when it comes down to the alpha and beta, I think people start trying to make themselves more desirable, because you can be a beta or you can be an alpha and you still can have women. So it has nothing to do with you being able to mate or to get a woman. I think it's really based off what group are we analyzing, and is that person the top of or the cream of, is that person the decision maker of that group? Does that kind of make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. And that's kind of what I was trying to say as well, because you're not always going to be an alpha in every situation. So this term cannot apply to humans. In animals, yes, because when you have the leader of the pack, he's always the alpha until he either dies or gets run off, right? Or they kill him. One of the three happens, and he's the alpha. But in a human life, we don't live that way. So we can't. I'm just saying that we can't use that word. I understand the buzzword and I understand what people are trying to say, but this buzzword is just doesn't fit, and it's getting rather annoying.
Can we use an example really quick? Let's use someone like Bill Gates. Okay, someone who outside of his influence from what he does in everyday life, most men would call him beta, but adding context to who he is as a man, what he's contributed to society, standing next to other men, a lot of men would consider him to be of the leaders of society, alpha, or I think it does have a lot to do with just how you compare and how you measure up to your peers. It has something to do with it, but I don't think these terms, like Ameera said, because these are animalistic terms, these are terms used to describe animals. If we start trying to connect them to this conversation, we're going to derail every single time. And yeah, that's really all I got. I don't think that, I see why it's used for marketing, so on and so forth, but I don't think it was ever meant to be taken this literally. Personally, that's just my.
And I wanted to answer your statement you asked the last caller.
Mm-hmm.
What you asked him was, what are average men going to do who can't travel abroad? All right.
Sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So when I met my wife, I didn't have the money to travel abroad. And I think
guys, I'm sorry. I need to make a quick announcement.
Okay.
I accidentally dropped Jay off. I'm sorry, Jay. Please, if you want, you can come back. I'm sorry, it was an accident. Okay, guys. Sorry, you guys can continue.
Go ahead.
All right. So this is what I believe going to happen, and this is just my opinion, but this is what I believe going to happen. So my wife is a first generation American. Her parents are from overseas. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe a lot of men are going to be open to women who have American ways, but was trained by women overseas. So since my wife came from a situation where her mother learned more of her, I guess, Asian culture of cooking, cleaning, men being the head of the household, submission. Those things can still be taught to first generations. What we see when it's like 6 or 7 generations down, that's when we start seeing people of other cultures lose those values, in my opinion. So I think a lot of average men are going to start looking and say, hey, who have these values of overseas but still Americanized to me to be able to learn from? That's what I got. And it ain't have to move nobody to get him no citizenship because she was in America. She's familiar with America, but she do have the teachings of overseas, if that makes sense.
When you say teachings of overseas, do you mean like her views surrounding like relationships and dating, or just her views in general just about the world?
So what I mean is, like, when I first met my wife, she was like, hey, her whole life, it was her responsibility to honor her. Her responsibility was to honor her dad clothes growing up because he's from the Asian culture. Her job was to cook and clean, and her job was to make. It was the women's responsibility. Her father didn't do any of those things because he wasn't American. He was from the Asian culture, and so I believe a lot more men that are average are going to start looking for these women who was taught but still have. Like, so she's still American. She still got American ways, but her culture bled into her life, and I see it how she teach her kids.
You said American ways. Elaborate further. I'm interested. What is
that? This is gonna be bad. You're gonna get people mad in the chat.
Well, hey, they're gonna be mad regardless. I can say all the right things. They're gonna be mad, so I might as well speak my truth.
Right.
American ways. So it's certain things. For example, I think spending habits. I think Americans are more fruitful to spend more money because bigger consumers. That's something that I think that she brought over. So I don't think it's going to be a perfect person. We're not going to find that, but it's going to be better than what we're getting.
Right.
So I think it's come down to when you start asking yourself these questions is, hey, so my wife, she cooks, she cleans, she does 99% of everything with my child, and we have gender roles. And so I wanted that. But I also wanted somebody who kind of grew up in America that knew kind of how we move in America. And I think she was the perfect blend. And she's perfect for me. I tell everybody, hey, I ain't gonna say that. I was gonna say something, but the chat would have went crazy if I said that, so I'm just gonna let it go.
Yeah.
So did that answer your question, Thon? Are those the American ways that you were asking about, or is that not enough? Because I didn't get the full. I honestly didn't, because.
Yeah, the spending. Okay, keep going.
Someone said Cardi
B. The reason why I asked, because when you said that she was overseas, you kind of said that in like a positive, like that was like there was some positive, that there was something positive connected to that. So I'm wondering what her qualities were.
Okay, well, look, I got you.
Yeah.
So, what's a good American way that we can say? Speaking proper English. Growing up in America, she had to take classes like ELA in school, but you can speak proper English. Not saying that people not from America can't speak proper English. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is like understanding. I kind of understand how we move, because I think American men move totally different from men from the Middle East. So like I said, it's negatives and positives from both, but I wouldn't want to be in any other. Maybe because I served in the military, I wouldn't want to be from any other country but America. Like I know
I'll bring you right back, Wesley. Okay, I'll bring you right back. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get one more person in. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, keep going, man.
Yeah, so I personally believe like it's some good things from America, being able to I guess communicate. I think Americans communicate very well from a business aspect, because she does a lot of my scheduling, secretary work. She works for my business, so it's a lot of stuff that I feel that she learned through schooling, through American ways that are benefits.
Can I get a mod to take care of that, please? Searchy, can you take care of that in the comment, please? Thank you.
I said, so I believe it is as long as she have a foundation from overseas, but a good foundation in learning the good characteristics in business in America, I think those two things mix well. She put the Kool-Aid and the sugar in at the right time and mixed it and made a good batch. You know, it's crazy how some people can make Kool-Aid and it tastes bad, and we use the same ingredients. We do, but hers mixed really good, and I think it's because she saw. I think it's because she saw that her parents was married for 30 years. She saw her mother serve her father, and having that example and her having to serve her dad also gave her great things that we typically don't see in America. So
that's great, man. Yep. Thanks for the clarification, man. Just wanted
Thank you so much, man.
Thanks, man. Nice talking to you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. Y'all guys keep rocking.
Yep.
You too. Bye bye. Hi, Jay. I'm sorry I dropped you out by accident.
It's all right. I understand. Thank you for having me. How's it going, Thon? How's it going, Ameera?
It's going good, man.
I was going to bring the conversation back to the alpha versus beta, and I do agree with Thon when it comes to like once you start to try to like kind of take it out of context and just realize how often it's being said and why it's being said in what context, it gets a little bit confusing. But personally, for me, I look at it more as, what was it Ameera said? You said that there has to be a better way.
Yeah.
I was referring to when you said there has to be like something more updated. It's just like we already have the idea of a ladies' man and a man's man, and among men, like being competitive, you know, that the man's man is the most honest. He gets the job done. He puts in his work. He's about his business, and you'll hear that echoed in different ways throughout. I guess the manosphere in the form of get on your purpose. You know, be about your business. Do what it takes, and that's the man's man. And women are also attracted to men for that reason. There's also a ladies' man, a guy who's more comfortable saying what it is a woman wants to hear. And men respect the ladies' man too. It's just a different type of respect, because you know that when you're talking to women, some of them, some of them, I'll say a lot of them want, to say what it is that they want to hear. They say men fall in love with what they see, but women fall in love with what they hear. So there's that aspect to it where as a man's man or a ladies' man, if men are talking amongst men and competitively speaking, the man's man always tends to win. And you'll see that when you see people that say like, like, I don't know, if it was me and Thon, matter of fact, for example, and he was just like, yeah, man, I just bagged shorty from down the block, and I smashed in like 2 weeks. I'll be like, dog, I smashed in 1 week. And that by itself would like, well, how did you smash in 1 week versus 2 weeks versus even when it comes to the man's man side of the argument, it'd be like,
I think I know what you're trying to say.
Achieving sales goals and going down that path, like, or if you're in a competitive, like, if you're in a corporate structure, right? So that ladies' man who's saying, you know, what it is a woman wants to hear to get what he wants from her would be like, would typically be seen as more beta, but not necessarily just beta only to like what a man's man would be seen as. And then when it comes to just being alpha and beta, what was I gonna say? Someone came on here earlier saying something about it being involved, alpha and beta in the form of a group. I think that kind of helps make my point as well. As far as,
I think that was Emmanuel or the one before him.
Right, I think so. But as far as that goes, being an alpha with a certain level of social understanding, even when you look at chimps or whatever, and I think Ameera was saying, you know, the alpha will be the one that get run off and, you know, run out of the pack. It's like, that's not too different from being the hero until you're the villain. Like, it's like, it's one of the burdens of leadership. So a man's man comes in that role, and alpha comes in that role where it's like, they were needed for what it was they had to offer, and they led by example, and they led through experience. And that also qualifies someone like Bill Gates in Thon's example, where he says, like, you know, people don't look at Bill Gates and be like, that's not an alpha, but it's just like, if you, like, what man doesn't respect his business for him to be able to make himself the richest man in the world at a certain point, you know, like who he is as a person, and as judged by his accomplishments, how men judge each other.
So you're saying that people just respect him because of his work ethic, because he was an innovator and a leader in a certain field? I get that. I get that. However, I don't know if we would consider him. I mean, I guess kind of.
He's no ladies' man. He is no lady. He doesn't seem like, he doesn't come across as a ladies' man. He's not tall, you know, physically imposing. He's not, you know, a looker or whatever. He doesn't come across as the most handsome.
Please,
Can I say something really quick? He might not be all those things, but he got to conduct his marriage with transparency that a lot of men never get to see. And that speaks to his status. That speaks to his value as a man. Women make different decisions when they are around income that isn't easily replaceable.
Wait, how was that transparent? I'm trying to figure out how was that.
And I think that, well, simply because his wife was under the understanding, she had an understanding about who women accept these understandings about side women and whatever for long periods of time when the guy's income is at a certain place and men, we see this, and a lot of times alpha is a term that a lot of guys will use with men who can have these sort of arrangements with women. And I can see how, but if we're talking about alpha, of course, in a Webster's dictionary type of way, we're going to get tripped up. But like the other caller said, in a religious sense, you can say like Most High, or shouts out to RM, the beginning, so on and so forth. Like, it speaks to like who's at the top. And if we start getting specific in the semantics about what alpha means, where it derives from, so on and so forth, we cannot have the conversation. To me, because the thing is really we're trying to separate the leaders from the non-leaders, and that's the most simple way we can look at it. Like I said, we probably don't need the terminology, but it is being used in the space, and I would say it's more for marketing than to try to land a point home.
Yeah, but I understand too. I understand, and like I said, the buzzword has served its purpose. Right. But I'm just thinking, like, can't we just call it a man? And why can't we just say he's a man? And that encompasses that. Because if we just define a man as everything that a so-called alpha is, then we wouldn't need to say, I'm the alpha. You would say, I'm a man, and that's what it means. And everybody understands what you said when you said you're a man. They understood what came with that. And it means that you're a leader because we know that men are leaders. I don't know. Maybe you guys aren't understanding.
The cultural understanding is in here. The culture. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to give one retort to that. Men, we live in an environment where we're competing. Women are competing too, of course, for husbands, so on. But men are the majority of our experience is competition. So we were going to use some word. We were going to separate because that's just what we do as men. We have the men who we know are sturdy and reliable and going to continue to get the same outcomes, and we know the men who are lower in testosterone and not getting the same outcomes. And it's always been glaringly obvious in society. You can call it alpha or beta, you call it weaker, stronger, however you want to look at it. But I think that the terminology is for marketing, and like you said, we've used the buzzword enough. But at the end of the day, I think it's just used to have a bigger conversation about how we need to distinguish our leaders from the men who aren't necessarily leading, and just capping and telling women what they want to hear, and they aren't even leaders. We have to make, if we don't use these words, we have to figure out a way to distinguish. That's why I said the word simp. I don't really like it, but I like that there's something that we use to distinguish men who try to put out ideas about men that aren't true, so that women will want to sleep with them or find them as like the good guy or the white knight. No, we're not going for that.
Understandable. Service, please feel free to join in. Thank you, Jay. Is there anything else you wanted to add on before?
I was gonna disagree that alpha isn't necessary, or I would say that alpha versus beta is overused. Too many people do try to say it to make the point, and it is kind of killing the effect of the term, much like people say about the word love, like how the word itself is being killed, but it's still very, very useful. Very useful. It's very useful in describing, I guess, in making a separation of a point. And it's also just to say between men. I think that's men's competition. There's a man's, like I was saying, there's a man's man, there's a ladies' man. You don't really know what a man's lady or a lady's lady is. It seems like kind of the same thing. It seems redundant. But you know the difference between a man's man and a ladies' man, and you understand what it implies naturally. So to say alpha and beta versus, I think you can be an alpha and still simp. I think you can be a beta and simp. I think that there's all this variation when it comes to the understanding of how we live our lives, especially in the US versus other countries, because culturally, I think the Nigerian gentleman, I forget his name, David,
Canadian-born Nigerian.
Yeah. What he was saying specifically, they don't have this idea of alpha or beta. Over there, it would be more like what Ameera is saying. A man is a man. And if you don't do this, you're just not a man. It's just that rigid. But over here, there's a lot more option and freedom here. So you will have this overuse of the word alpha in particular, and people trying to shun the word beta. That seems kind of girly to rely on it too much for my own taste. But that's just my opinion. But I'll back out at this point.
Thank you so much, Jay. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You've been great. Thank you. Hi, sir.
Good evening, everyone.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Yeah. I want to touch on the subject of, about looking for women overseas. Now, one of the things that I do is I do my due diligence, especially with the women over here in the United States. And I do the same thing. Trust me, men, the grass, because people always think the grass is greener on the other side. It's not. Trust me. With the internet all over the world, women overseas have the same access to the women in the United States, to the same stuff that women have in the United States, which means now you got a whole bunch of men looking for women overseas, all looking for the same thing. And guess what that makes?
You're saying women all over are just the same, that there's no difference?
Well, there is from a cultural perspective, but let's just say that, you can't keep your eye on your kids all the time, right?
Okay.
They're gonna get on the internet. They're gonna look at stuff they're not supposed to be looking at, or things of that nature. China had the great big firewall, but when I go there, I can use my phone and go on Facebook and everything else.
But what does internet have to do with the morals and values of a woman?
Because it gives them access to, let's say, they get to see. Now, America is one of the biggest things that people like to look towards to when it comes to setting an example for something.
Okay.
Right. So what do? What does the American woman do? How do they live? They get all these nice purses. They get to be a boss chick. They get to be all these other things and stuff of that nature. And believe it or not, because of that mentality, like let's say, for example, I have business going on in the Philippines. So I go over there. What's one of the first things that I do for my due diligence? I go into Facebook dating groups of that country to see how the people are.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, when you do your due diligence, I don't know how people can keep falling for the same thing over and over again. They always want to talk about women this, women that, and they keep falling for the same thing because their Facebook profiles and Instagrams and everything. All right, that is the main thing. One of the main things you should be looking at.
Service, let me point something out. When you say that you go to a different country and you go into the internet to find the people who are around you, you said use Facebook or Instagram or what else was it? Just one. Just add. Is there any other?
There are all kinds of social medias.
Okay, you're on the social media. So
right. Let's say somebody.
1 minute, Service. Let me finish my sentence. So you are looking in the internet and finding the same type of girl that you would find in America and a different country. This is the problem that I'm speaking about. When you go somewhere else and you're looking in the same exact areas you would be looking in America, you're going to find the same. What we're speaking about are women who are actually traditional and born and raised in their culture properly. The ones that are not in the internet looking for a date, because most traditional women will not be in their phone looking for a date. So that's your first mistake right there. Even if you're trying to vet, you're already started wrong.
Well, maybe not. It hasn't proved me wrong yet. I'll tell you that right now, because people put a lot of their own innermost thoughts in the internet. That's a given. You cannot dispute that. All right. Like let's say, for example, a lady hit me up on Messenger and would say, "Oh, how you doing, stranger?" and this and that. Trying to kick it in. Okay, so I go on a Facebook profile and she's talking about sucking D and all this other stuff. I'm like, nope, disqualified. Things of that nature.
So there are scammers. There's scammers, especially a lot of people from different countries, especially third world countries. They're going to see you as an American, and they're going to 1 second, Service. They're going to see you as money, and they're going to see you as an easy target.
Oh yeah, I know, but that's not what they're expecting.
What do you mean?
I always go. The thing is, a lot of men, you can say, are simpish. Like, for example, a while back when you had something, when you were mentioning about the kind of woman, this is episodes ago, the kind of women men should not marry, like Amber Rose. And what's the first thing some men started doing? Oh, no, Amber Rose is marriage material, all this other stuff. There's way too many of those kind of men. So those men do not do their due diligence and actually go on to Facebook profiles or any other things that these women may be doing, or even ask the right questions. Like one of the things that I do when I ask is, how's your relationship with your father? How's your relationship with your family? Things like that. Put them online. I want to talk to them.
What do you think about this, Thon? Do you have an opinion on this?
Well, you said that you want to speak to the father. How soon do you want to speak to her father?
Well, it could be anywhere from, like, let's say we're weeks in talking. I don't see anything there. Okay. So now we move on to the next phase. All right, how's your relationship with your family? With your father? Things like that. I mean, because if she treats her father in a certain light, that means she might treat me the same way.
And are these the women are these the women you met on social media?
Huh?
And are these the women you met on social media?
On social media and in face to face.
Yeah, I think Ameera made a great point about like where you're meeting these women and the pattern of where you're finding these opportunities. If after a week you want to go speak to somebody in her family because you're seeing things that are off or whatever, you probably should think about where you're going to select. How old are you, man?
I'm 41. 41. Right now, my main thing is I'm not really looking for marriage or anything like that. Right now, what I do is I just, because in the Philippines, I'm going over there on business. Mm-hmm. So I just go on these sites. I ask questions, where the best hotels to stay at, where, sometimes I even hired a lady to help me with the Tagalog language. a little bit. So I'm learning that. So I'm learning. Hey,
you're just looking for.
I mean, give him a job. You know, she sends me videos, ABCs, how to say the language correctly.
I got a question. So if you're basically just like looking for hookups, why does it matter? If
Yeah,
the grass
well,
is
here's the
greener?
thing.
Why does it matter if they're like good women or bad women? If your perspective is, you know, there's nothing out there, you're not going to date anything. Why does it even?
Well, the main thing is, again, I'm going over there on business. And number two, I never said anything I was going there for hookers. I just said I just go on the sites to ask.
I didn't say hookers. Oh no, I think you misunderstood me. I didn't say hookers. I said hookups. Like you. Like
I know, like I said, I said I don't go in there looking for hookups.
Oh, okay.
I don't look for hookups.
Excuse
I go there. No. I mean, I have a hearing problem, and sometimes I get an impediment.
It's all right.
But the main thing is that I just ask questions, and if a lady shows interest to me, that's when I start asking those questions. Right now, my main question is: listen, I'm going to Manila. I got to look at some farmland. I got to do some this and that. I want to learn the language. So I hired a lady to help me with the language. I mean, because a lot of the language programs, they're good up to a certain extent. But when you go there, like in China, I go there and I say a certain word for one thing, and then they got 5 different words for the whole thing, depending on the region. So I'm like,
okay, go ahead,
Don. No, I'll finish.
So are you saying that you need a woman for like assistance with? And that would be understandable.
No, I hire
an intelligent.
Whoever shows interest and can actually do the job.
Right. So would they be considerable for a relationship if they can do that? Because that's very important. Somebody who is helping you in your life in an area that you're like, because men, we need a helpmate. That like some of us do. Some men don't need marriage. Some men don't need marriage, and that's perfectly fine. But you sound like the kind of guy who might maybe. So
no, I'm more of an arrangement kind of guy.
I'm just asking the question because you brought up the relation. You brought up the idea of you know, grass is greener, so on. So
because it's not
that you even have a perspective is interesting.
Right, just be more careful, you know, because a lot of men, they just go there. Oh, she's from another country, and they're gonna follow hook, line, and sinker, just like Ameera said, for scammers and things like that.
Okay.
I think what you're trying to say is that whatever woman that is bad in America, you can find the same thing in different countries, which we all agree on. But what we're trying to say is that the traditional women from the East, especially if you find one from a good family, typically this is not what you see, because here in America is so bad that even the women in church and even the ones that have grown up a certain way are still influenced by this, while we still have actual women who still believe in their culture and traditional values in the East. So I understand what you're saying, but I think the way you said it made it seem like, oh, the grass is not greener on the other side because everywhere else is the same as here, which is completely not true.
Because it made the American let's just say the modern women, it made the modern women type more so. It helped it grow more outside.
The internet,
like you said, huh?
You mean the internet?
Well, yes.
You're saying the internet helped them become more like Americans?
Right. Remember, the internet is a tool. Whatever it is that you're looking to do with that tool is what's going to make it what it is.
Okay.
So when people go out there and they, you know, they're looking for love or whatever, and all of a sudden, oh, look, you got easy pickings over here. They find out it's not easy pickings the hard way. So, you know, my thing is for the guys, if you're going to go overseas, do your vetting properly. You know, and if you see something off on their profiles when you're doing that vetting, believe them the first time.
They shouldn't have a profile in the first place.
Okay. Can I ask one more question? Okay.
Yes.
Just last question.
I know you hate the profile.
Please.
One more question, okay?
I know you hate the profile.
Like I have to ask. You said you're not interested in a relationship. You're not interested in marriage. What are you vetting for? Go.
Again, if they come to me and saying that they're interested in me for whatever reason, okay.
But you're not offering that. That's fine.
So that means I'm okay. Let me see if this is something I should consider. So then I start a vetting process. First, I check the profiles.
No. Wait.
Hold on. You asked.
Wait. Let me stop you because you just said that you aren't interested in that. Why would you consider something? This is where I'm getting confused because you said that once the woman shows interest, now you start a vetting process.
I'm not interested.
How can her interest open you up to be wanting to be in something? That's why I'm confused.
Okay. Again, just because I'm not interested at right now, doesn't mean down the line I may not. Right? I'm just busy building my company right now. I'm very busy with that.
Okay.
So, and women cannot, I've already tried. A lot of women cannot handle my busy schedule.
Right.
You know, they want me like a puppy on them all the time. You know, they can't handle that I don't answer the phone within a few certain minutes. I'm like,
okay.
I cut them off. So
I just had to clarify that. I'm sorry, I had to clarify that.
I'm sorry.
So you know, I mean, I don't cut them completely off.
Right, I understand.
You know, so if somebody comes to me, especially in the country I'm looking to do business in, all right, well, okay, let me ask some questions, see what she's about. You know, she could be interesting. I may learn to like it.
Okay, well let's do this. Let's say she is interesting. Let's say she's ideal. Where do we go from here? Because you're a man who doesn't want a relationship, doesn't want marriage, but you've met this ideal woman and now you found yourself in a dilemma. What do?
Well, it's not a dilemma for me because what I do is then I start asking, okay, what would you?
Well, it's a dilemma if you don't, if she's the perfect person for something you don't want. That certainly is a dilemma.
Again, it's not completely off the table, right? I said that.
Okay.
Down the line. So what do I do? I start asking her. I start decoding.
Right.
I'm not interested because there's way too much garbage right now and I need to focus. But then now here's somebody that's interesting. Okay, now I might put a little more attention to that. I start the quoting process. Again, the vetting, this and that. How are your parents?
Right.
Mind if I talk to your parents? Things like that. And when I go over there, I hang around them, see how they are. If they're ghetto, I'm not dealing with it. If they're, you know, if they're like
I'm the kind of guy that like, I don't mean to cut you off, but like, I gotta say this. Like, I'm the kind of guy that like when I want to be out of the market, I'm not even communicating with women. You know, like you can't say anything interesting to me to get me like to where, oh, now I'm in it because I'm like you said. I mean, if you're focused on leveling up, hey, go do that, man. Go level up or whatever. But if you're still communicating with women, you're out here, you're in the market, you're with us, trying to figure out things, trying to find things, just taking this. Even when I hear women take a position like, oh, I don't want anything, I have to say, like, come on, we all want connections out here. We're trying to build, we're trying to find people to. I'm just trying to get through the years. I'm not trying to, you know,
and just because I'm not interested at the time doesn't mean I don't give it any thought.
Exactly, and that's good, man. I just wanted to clarify that as all.
You know what I mean?
Go ahead, Ameera. That's all I wanted to say. No problem, man. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, like I was saying, sorry, Ameera.
No.
I was saying, you know, then I talk to the family and things like that, and then if she does end up being like the traditional women that Ameera says, then okay, let's make an arrangement. You know, because remember, I'm doing business overseas. I can always move over there for a certain period of time.
Right. What kind of arrangement? Like
marriage arrangement.
Marriage
arrangement, right? Like for instance, when I go there, I look at some farmland and things of that nature. And in order to keep the business in the family, he's trying to hook me up with one of his daughters, and I'm like, no.
I see.
You know, in order to keep it, you know, so the business can stay in the family. Like the Game of Thrones things will join our houses. I'm like, no. I saw what she's about. I'm like, no.
I don't know,
you saw what she was about and you said no.
Huh?
You said you saw what she was about and you said no.
Correct. You know, could come from a great family, but again, sometimes some people are just, the kids are just very naughty. And
so what, she couldn't control the kids? You were in a stepfather situation, she couldn't control her kids?
No, not that she has a kid. I would, you know, I stopped dealing with single mothers a long time ago.
Okay, got you.
Yeah,
no problem.
You know, I'm talking about when I meet when the parents talk to me about their daughter, trying to get me to marry the daughter, I saw how she is as a person, and I'm like, no, can't do it, won't do it. So we can just do this as regular business. Or, you know, I mean, I just go to the next island over in Malaysia and we'll take it from there.
Can I ask you, why did this man feel that he wanted to give his daughter to you?
Because he had no sons.
Yeah, but why you? Like, what did he see in you?
He's American.
Because number one, I sometimes do business in martial arts, things of that nature. Sometimes when I go over there, he's a military man. And, you know, he contacted me because he saw that I was looking for farmland in the United States. But with the way things are going on now, when he saw I was looking for farmland, he contacted me. Hey, listen, he has farmland in the Philippines, over 200 hectares.
So it's because you have money? Because you have money and you're American, maybe?
Well, because I'm American, and he saw that I was doing that, so he's looking to cultivate the land as well as his training facility and things like that. And we have other types of business that we're talking, not just farms.
It is a father's job to try and, sort things out for their daughter. A father has a daughter. He wants to make sure his daughter ends up with a good man, not a.
And I guess I don't know. Am I a good man? I'll let them tell me that, not the other way around.
Well,
I just do what I do.
He sees you as wealthy enough to take care of her, and probably a decent guy that would be a good son-in-law.
Well,
I mean, it's not an incredibly difficult thing. When we talk about vetting modern Western women, they're vetting themselves out of every possibility. But
give me a second.
The fathers, they're probably saying, well, I need to find a man that's going to take care of my daughter and be good to her and provide.
Right. Now, I got one thing to say out here. I just saw something out there. No woman can try to get me a child. I have 2 children. My son's in the Navy right now serving overseas, and they're both doing great. So try again, buddy. Now back to you guys. Sorry.
I think he was trying to say, wait, I didn't see it. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's okay. Don't worry.
Try not
Speaking favorably.
Okay.
We're having a conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sonny, go ahead, Wes. Sorry.
Well, I was kind of
but
speaking
I guess
maybe in the third world countries, the fathers are more traditional as well. But I can tell you, as a father of daughters myself, I'm interested in who my daughters are showing an interest in, and I know that when they come of age, I'm going to try and guide them and say, you know what, I don't think this guy's good for you because he's got the quantum probability of 0.
Right. I mean, because one of the things that my kids hate me for this, because once I find out that they have somebody that they're seeing, I start the vetting process immediately. I do the background check. Hey, I'm not bullshitting. I do a background check, criminal background check. I do the social media check. Because again, I'm building something, and if my kids aren't going to inherit anything, they're not gonna be dealing with what they inherit with this douchebag or whoever it is.
Thank you, Service. I appreciate you, and thank you for your story.
So I understand everybody got to go.
I appreciate your honesty.
Have a good night, and I got to finish cleaning up. Have a good night.
Right,
bye.
Thank you.
Man. Take care.
Nice talking to you.
Button.
Oh, it's okay. I can take you.
Oh, okay.
And let's go, Brandon. Okay, so what do you think about that, Thon? I mean, that was quite a bit of information. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he was trying to take a safe position, but really he still wants to be out here in the market, and that's why I just wanted to get him to admit that he wants to be in the dating market, and it's okay. Like
he's got really, 1 foot in, but he doesn't want to jump in the pool.
Yeah, he was like, I'm not looking for anything. I'm not looking for marriage. I'm not looking for a relationship. But as soon as a woman says something that I like, I start vetting. I'm like, hold on, buddy.
Yeah, that seems strange. And he's like, talking to the family of the girl that it's, I don't know.
It's kind of the Schrodinger's paradigm there.
Even
I'm
men,
dating, but I'm not
even
dating.
Men have to not. Even men struggle with light delusion, certain delusions, just trying to create a narrative of why they're getting the results that they're getting, things like that. And it can just be. I think that it's so important that we're having these conversations during this time. Men aren't having a lot of success. Men aren't. We all know. Only a small percentage of men are having all of the sex and getting all the relationships and whatever, so on and so forth. It's just, to me, it's discouraging a little bit, to see, a lot of men out here just kind of trying to tell themselves a truth that's comfortable for them, so that they can be apprehensive in the market.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
What did you say, Wesley?
I said that they're trying to lower their expectations. To try and find a way to be happy with what they have. I don't talk about it much, but many years ago I was married, and that's how I ended up with 2 kids. What
made you? Oh, do you want to speak about that really quickly before we go? Maybe you can share with us. What made you divorce?
I think it presents a lot of value. So I raised my 2 kids on my own. They don't even have memories of the other party. How that ended up was when I married this person, I got with her because I wasn't valuing myself. It's probably the worst soulless person I could have. And I see a lot of young people out there, a lot of young men, they're having a hard time valuing themselves. So they will accept anything that pretends to be love.
I think it's great that we're having these conversations, like Thon said, because a lot of people think that they're the only ones going through a certain situation, and then you hear someone.
A lot of guys are getting faked out too. A lot of guys are getting faked out. Women are faking traditional, faking submissive. You know, they
because a lot of these millennials have started figuring out, oh dang, I think we screwed up.
And he's right, Thon, you're right. A lot of people are faking it, and then you never know until you marry the person, and then you're like, wait, you aren't what you said you were. You're not what you claim to be, and you can talk it, but you can't actually walk it.
Yeah.
You know? Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I think that the success in arranged marriages reflects the institute. Like, I think that it speaks to how when they start an arranged marriage, it isn't about the emotional aspect first, and that has to be developed later. I just in general think that there's an issue with how we're approaching the idea of marriage. And a lot of people want to get married, and a lot of people are getting married. And that's why we have the divorce rate looks how it looks in the West, and it's getting scarier and scarier, especially, you know, in certain communities.
A culture that it has arranged marriages, is very normal to have arranged marriages. What goes hand in hand with that is very normalized gender roles, which is fine. As long as the point I'm trying to make there is the reason why arranged marriages probably have a higher success rate, if I understood you correctly, is because people automatically fell right into their places. They didn't spend years arguing about who does the dishes. You know, the traditional way, you know, hundreds of years ago. Let me start with this. Why is a bubble round?
Wesley, oh my God. What? Wesley, you always do this. Stop
I didn't know he was throwing that out for the panel. When he paused,
no, the chat is going to go crazy. Stop it, Wesley.
Because it is the most energy efficient shape.
Okay, Wesley. Okay.
And that's what gender roles are.
I want to say something. I want to talk to you guys. Wait, Wesley, stop it. You and your bubbles. Wait, Wesley. No, I want to talk to you guys about this. Have you guys seen on YouTube that you have people who have been married for like 5 months, and they come on and start telling other people how to do their marriage? You've just been married 5 months, if that, and they're like, so this is the way you have to do it. And it's like, but how are you the expert on marriage? You just got married. Just talk about your own experiences, but don't try to tell people like this is how it has to be done. It's like you have to wait a little bit and feel it.
Sorry, I thought you stopped. I was saying they're still in the honeymoon phase.
Yeah, you're still in the honeymoon phase. You still haven't gotten into your first actual fight. You still haven't even thought about leaving the person yet. It's like you have to get past more stages than that. What do you think, Thon?
No, I agree. I think you have to, you know, realize that your emotions certainly aren't the biggest factor in the whole entire thing. I think that's just the biggest thing, is people thinking that their happiness is the biggest priority and the top priority in marriage. You know what I mean? And they don't think about legacy. They don't think about, you know, family and the importance of it. And yeah, I just, you know, in this day, when you see so many women being told by their mothers to put an education before learning how to be a wife, you see why so many women don't even know what that embodies by the time they're stepping up to the plate looking, you know, for a mate. You know, so for whatever keeps women away from being groomed to learn what a wife is, it's certainly the thing that's going to stop them from getting the results that they want. And it's just, I don't know, very discouraging at this point to see modern women still struggling with it. But I guess women have been struggling with it for some time. And we're going to have to just keep having these conversations and keep opening dialogue up about it until we come to some kind of solution.
Yeah, I think this is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to go all the way to the past to see where it started. Thank you, Wesley, so much. We're going to start closing down. Thank you, Wesley, for joining us.
Thanks,
again and again and again. I appreciate you.
Man. You were great.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna think of another dad joke so I can present to Wesley next time.
Right.
So, Thon, I really appreciate you coming on.
No
I hope you've
problem.
had a great time here.
Oh yeah,
Is there
this was
any
great. This was
right?
great.
Do you have
Yeah,
any
this was
closing
great.
arguments? Any closing thing that you want to say,
Nope.
or any points that you want to make sure that people understand about you, your channel, about anything before we go?
Nope. Just continue to rock out. Continue to support the channel. And continue to support the Lapeef Network and these conversations. These are important conversations. Let's take them serious and have them without getting emotional. Let's just have the discussion. Let's do this. Let's work this out.
Let's do it. And why is a bubble clear?
Right,
The world may never know.
Gotta leave that for you guys.
So one more super chat before we go out. This is Emmanuel. Thank you, Emmanuel. He says, when you get the family and joy, you will know what the family is about. Marry the family, not the person. If they come from a good family, success rate is high. And I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Tish. Thank you, Tish, for sponsoring the Lapeef Network. Guys, please check out this product. It is amazing skincare for men. And I think Thon knows about Tish. Do you want to say something?
Shouts out to Tish Hanley. Shouts out to them. That's a sponsor over at our channel as well. Shouts out to Tish Hanley. Go get that product. It's a phenomenal product.
It is. So I guess that's it, guys. Thank you guys for joining us on this live stream with the great Thon Lexy. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And check out your reaction videos. Thank you guys so much.
Guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.